The first thing I noticed when I walked into Grandpa's house that Christmas evening was the silence. Usually, Christmas at his place meant noise, kids running around, cousins arguing over board games, uncles wrestling the tree into a corner, and Grandma humming in the kitchen. But that night, the house felt still, almost expectant. The only sound was the ticking of the brass wall clock, loud enough that every second felt like a reminder that something was different. Grandpa sat at the head of the long dining table, wearing his old maroon sweater, the one Grandma had knitted for him years before she passed. His hands, aged, spotted, shaking slightly, rested on the polished wood. He wasn't smiling. He wasn't even pretending to. That alone was enough to raise alarms. My mother nudged me gently. "Go say hello," she whispered. I walked toward him, but before I could speak, Grandpa lifted his eyes. They were tired, but behind them was a strange clarity, like a man who had made a decision and accepted the consequences. "Sit," he said quietly. I obeyed. One by one, the rest of the family arrived and settled awkwardly around the table. My aunts whispered to each other. My cousins kept exchanging confused looks. My father repeatedly glanced at his watch, already annoyed that Christmas dinner wasn't starting on time. But Grandpa didn't seem to care about dinner. When everyone took their seats, he cleared his throat, a sound too small for the room, but somehow it silenced all of us. "I'm glad you all came," he began. "I wasn't sure if you would." My Aunt Maria frowned. "Dad, of course we would, it's Christmas." He gave her a sad smile. Christmas used to mean something in this house. Lately, the only thing it means is that we all pretend we're a perfect family for a few hours. A heavy quiet fell. No one knew how to respond to that, not without proving his point. Grandpa placed a shaky hand on the table. "I've called you here because I have something to say, something I should have said a long time ago, something I cannot take with me." Dad sighed. "Dad, what are you talking about? You're not dying." Grandpa looked at him gently. "Son, I'm 91. I've been dying for 10 years. Tonight isn't about my health. It's about the truth." My stomach tightened. I didn't know what truth could make him sound like that. He looked around the table, studying each face carefully. His children, their spouses, the grandchildren, even the youngest, who didn't understand the tension but stayed quiet because everyone else was. "I want you to listen, really listen," he said. "No interruptions, no comments, no arguments." The seriousness in his voice made even Dad lean back and fold his arms silently. Grandpa took a slow breath. "I need to start with your mother." The room shifted. Grandma had been gone for 8 years, but her name still carried weight. "Your mother was the love of my life," he said softly. "That hasn't changed, but there is something you never knew about her, something she asked me to keep secret." He paused and closed his eyes for a moment, gathering strength. "She didn't die naturally." A wave of shock moved across the table. Dad was the first to react. "What, Dad?" We saw the medical. Grandpa held up a trembling hand. "No, she didn't die naturally because she didn't want to." Aunt Maria gasped, hand over her mouth. My mother whispered a prayer under her breath. Grandpa continued, voice thick with emotion. "Your mother was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer 4 months before she passed. She hid it from all of you except me. She didn't want you to see her suffer, and she didn't want the kids to remember her as a sick woman fatting away." He swallowed hard. "She begged me not to tell you, and she begged me to let her go on her terms." A sob escaped somewhere down the table. Dad shook his head. "No, Dad, you should have told us. We could have." "What?" Grandpa whispered. "Saved her. Let me tell you the truth, son. She didn't want to be saved. She was tired, she was in pain, and she wanted peace." He wiped the corner of his eye. "I respected her wish. I helped her pass gently. She wasn't alone. She wasn't scared." Aunt Maria broke into tears, covering her face. My mother quietly passed tissues down the table. But that isn't the only truth, Grandpa said, voice suddenly firmer. That's just the one that made all of this necessary. He looked at Dad, long, hard, almost painfully. There's more you all need to know, no matter how much it hurts. The air thickened again. Your mother had another request, Grandpa continued. She asked me to fix something before I died, something I failed to fix in the last 8 years. He took another breath, this one slower and heavier. You children, you stopped being a family. No one spoke. You fight over money, over land, over nonsense. You judge each other, envy each other, question each other's decisions. Even tonight, half of you came out of obligation, not love. That is what your mother wanted. He shook his head. She made me promise one thing, to bring you all together, truly together, before I left this world. He reached for a small wooden box under his chair and placed it on the table. Inside was a stack of letters, thick envelopes sealed neatly, each with a name written in Grandma's delicate handwriting. My breath caught. Letters from her. Grandpa's voice trembled. She wrote these before she passed, one for each of you. She wanted each of you to know something, something personal, something she didn't get to say. Dad looked like he might break. She wrote one for every child, every grandchild. Then Grandpa looked at me. And one for you too. My heart thudded against my ribs. But these letters aren't the end, he said. They're the beginning. He pushed the box toward the center of the table. You're not to open these here. You'll take them home, read them alone. Let her speak to you the way she wanted to. He let out a slow, shaky breath. And there is one last truth I must tell you. He reached into his sweater pocket and pulled out an old envelope, yellowed, worn, cracked at the edges. This one is for all of you, he said. Your mother wrote it for the family as a whole. She wanted me to read it on the night I believed the family was truly ready. He looked around the room with sad eyes. But that night never came, not until now. He unfolded the letter with shaking fingers. As he read, his voice was soft but steady. My dear family, if you are hearing these words, it means I am gone, and I miss you deeply. I want you to know that your father loves you all more than you can imagine, and I want you to love each other the same way. Do not let life pull you apart. The world is full of storms. Only family can be your shelter. Forgive each other, fight less, embrace more, laugh often, make time for one another. Life is shorter than any of us realize. And when your father joins me again, remember this. The only thing that matters is love. Grandpa folded the letter carefully, like it was a piece of her. When he looked up, his eyes glistened. I kept her secret to protect you, but my time is almost done. I need to know you'll take care of each other when I'm gone. For a long moment, nobody spoke. Then Aunt Maria stood, walked to her father, and wrapped her arms around him. Then my mother. Then my cousins. Then finally Dad, hesitant at first, but then he broke and sobbed into Grandpa's shoulder like a child. And in that moment, crowded around the old man who had held our family together, we felt something we hadn't felt in years. We felt like a family. Grandpa closed his eyes, leaning into the warmth of the embrace, and whispered, Your mother can finally rest, and so can I.